Today, we're going to go into Starbucks and McDonald's.
Okay, all right. So,
So, so Starbucks in-store sales have gone down
mhm,
1%
right,
from last year. Now, you probably say 1% is nothing. It's one of the biggest companies in the US market, the
yeah,
biggest coffee chain in the world. If you look at this Q1, they were doing pretty well in China and North America in terms of growth. Then
mm,
Q2 2024, it starts going downhill. Q3 2024, downhill. Q4, downhill. And that's just continuing. They're on the wrong side of the graph, which is the minus aspect in both China and US sales. And this is specifically for the stores. This is like we need to keep into, we take into the consideration that Starbucks also does, they do drive-throughs, they
yeah,
do
yeah,
deliveries via apps, they do so you could do your collaboration with Just Eat, Deliveroo, etc., etc. They also have products that they'll sell in the supermarket. So the business is doing well as a whole. In-store sales are going downhill, and it's been
right,
5 quarters in a row now. And I've got a little bit of a thesis around this. You could almost see the decline going from a mile away. When you think about Howard Schultz, or the founder, if you read his book, his biography on how he actually built Starbucks, it was very people centric. The guy was a coffee purist, sourcing. In fact, they innovated with coffee by actually doing their own roasting. Before, it used to be coffee in a can in America. They really put elite coffee on the map. And it was, and if you look back into the 90s, you would remember the small details they used to do by writing your name on the
mm,
cup.
yeah,
That was like they were the first ones to do that. You used to, you could almost close your eyes and imagine yourself in a Starbucks, and it would be very much like the scene of Friends. Central Park. There used to be proper furniture.
yeah,
There used to be baristas there. You could strike up a conversation. You would never go in to Starbucks in a rush. So all of a sudden, you saw Starbucks being stripped of all of its personality. I mean, it literally looks like a McDonald's nowadays. You go in there, there aren't really comfortable seats.
no, no, completely agree, completely agree.
There's more space. There's more space than you need. Most of the workers, there's hardly any workers in there, so they have their face like a slapped ass because
Yeah,
they're doing cleaning. They're trying to serve the coffees. The price isn't getting cheaper. The price is more. Yet the experience is less. And then the next thing was actually they prioritize speed. You got the machines, all that type of stuff. Well, ultimately, you can actually get a decent brew of coffee in your house. So they've almost been a victim of their own success because you can buy the Starbucks pods
yeah,
in your local Tesco's.
yeah,
You've got all sorts of machines now that can really just give you an almost Starbucks grade coffee in your own home.
yeah.
So what are you actually paying for when you
Well,
go to a Starbucks?
well, sort of imagine not just Starbucks, but many of the coffee chains. And I sort of look back when they were really at the height. You used to go into Starbucks and you'd go with your laptop or it would be like almost like your office. You'd go and have a coffee, you'd do a bit of work, you'd meet customers or partners or whatever in business at Starbucks or coffee shops, you'd meet your friends. And we've done it many times. When we split and gone on to different organisations, we'd always meet at a coffee shop. And we sit there for a couple of hours, chin wagging and having a couple of cups of coffee. And I get it now. It's now in and out. Go in and out, done. And that's not what coffee drinking is about. It's supposed to be.
It's about togetherness.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
literally business is meant to be done over a cup of coffee.
yeah, yeah,
And what also interests me is if you think about what made the Starbucks brand, you would go in there and it was that whole experience that made it feel premium. So
right.
you'd be proud to own the mug. You'd be proud to hold it in your hand because you're like, yeah, I just come from Starbucks. It was a self kind of fulfilling prophecy that
Yeah,
Starbucks was elite. You have an elite. So yeah, perhaps stripping it off all of that character, putting more machines in the Starbucks was going to make the operational profits go up. But then people aren't going back to the stores.
yeah.
And that is the problem that they're facing. So I have a feeling that they lost themselves. And in fact, it's not really a feeling because guess what the new Starbucks plan is called?
Right.
Back to Starbucks.
Before you, I'm no genius, right? I'm no
Yeah.
retail genius, right? But to me, is if you have a customer that comes in and sits down, has a cup of coffee, meets with people, they're more likely to buy more coffee. They're more likely to buy some of the other things that you do, rather than somebody that
And they'll come back coffee shop.
exactly.
If you strip it away from the memories, well, then it becomes a commodity, and you'll just get your coffee anywhere.
Yeah,
Then
exactly.
it really is just about the beverage.
Yeah.
And they stripped the brand of all of its character to maximize profits. They got rid of staff. They thought machines could do it. And guess what? 5 years later, 5, 6 years later, after a great run, they're now suffering the consequences.
Yeah.
So let's look at it. Let's look at the high level figures that came out yesterday or the day before yesterday. So net sales rose 2% to 8.76 billion. Nothing to be laughed at, right? But the same store's sales fell a fifth. So for a fifth straight quarter, right? So that's 5 quarters. So Nico is the new CEO. In fact, let me get his whole name right. His name is Brian Nichol.
Yeah.
New CEO, and I don't know if you remember the old Indian CEO that said you can't
Indeed.
email me, all that type of stuff, right? So he's come in place, and he's doing the whole bring back Starbucks initiative. The sales have slumped, and really was the reason why I'm calling this a win for the people is guess what? One of the main changes are going to be
What's that? But,
bring back staff.
well, exactly.
Bring back staff. They're actually going to heavily invest in getting the staff back because they're recognizing that guess what, your barista is going to remember your order. People actually want to go in, get a smile, get a coffee, like the Cheers theme tune where everybody knows your name and they're always glad you came.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what people want. You go in there, you go in these stores, they're stripped of all of their character. To me, there's no difference between a McDonald's and a Starbucks
Well,
in terms of their actual locations.
We live in the UK, right? And if you look at the UK, right, you either go to the pub, right, which for your alcohol or whatever, or you go to a coffee shop, right, and you sit and you talk, and you've got this person who isn't rushed off their feet. They're taking orders, they're making coffee, they're putting the toasted sandwich on because whatever, or somebody wants an iced whatever. These people are at the moment are overrun, as you say, faced like a slapped arse because they're just overworked and underpaid, right? And that service is completely gone. It's completely gone. It's literally the coffee equivalent of a self checkout. You may as well just get your stuff, put your money in, and go. Yeah.
And people were saying I could get my coffee quicker on the app
Yeah.
than actually going in the store.
Yeah.
And it's just that the differentiation just goes down. I might as well just go to my local coffee shop and give that, going to get a better experience, going to get a tiny independent, and they are really, really losing it.
I think they've killed off the barista.
Oh, definitely. Oh,
We've
definitely.
heard- we
We don't
don't-
buy machines now. If you go into Costa, you can't even barista with their machine. You just press the button and it comes up. It's crap. It's crap. So guess what? You go into your local coffee shop. I mean, my area is full of them now.
Yep.
They actually take the time to make it. You're not going there for a rushed experience. You're
Yeah.
going there for a proper experience.
Yeah.
And that justifies the £4.50 I'm paying for my coffee.
Exactly.
That's it. I mean, if you're gonna give me speed and all this type of stuff, then give me dirt cheap prices. But that's
Yeah.
not what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Like, you know why? When we were singing the praises of Weatherspoons,
Yeah.
we were singing the praises of Weatherspoons because whilst it's a large scale business with 600 to 800 pubs, I can't remember the exact same the exact number across the country. You're going in and you were always getting a cheaper pint. It was making. And also you could actually sit there the whole day, right? So you had all the benefits of having a location. Yeah, the carpet's not great. Yeah, the staff might be a little bit exhausted, but guess what? At the bottom line, you're getting a cheaper pint and you can stay there. With this,
I think it was a breakfast for under a fiver. Breakfast for under a
exactly. Yeah, you're not getting none of that, and you're not getting the experience. So let's have a listen to what the CEO has to say, just to explain this strategy.
So when they come in, the attach has been pretty much the same as far as customization or adding on food. And I think frankly, what we're focused on is how do we bring customers back into our stores so that they experience a great seat, great vibe, they get that connection with our baristas, and then they obviously get the craft beverage that they want on the right speed of service. And
it's coming back to the people, and that's why I'm saying that these quarterly results are a win for the people. Andrew, the other day we were talking and we were seeing that Lloyd's Bank is outsourcing half of its IT to India. 6,000 jobs, UK jobs now shipped to India. Do you know what? Fantastic. I've got nothing against India and Indian talent, but it's going to be at a cost. You carry on with your operational margins. There's a time and a place for them. Like with ASOS, when we discussed that that they were going to do some operational changes that made real sense to the business. But this idea of just squeezing the customer and stripping yourself of some of your USPs, it's done. And I'm so glad that they've concluded that no amount of machine in their stores can replace the people element, because that's what coffee's about. And you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
that is exactly what coffee's about. It's about people. It's about memories. It's about it's about sitting there and getting a coffee that you can't make at home really. Because you can press a button at home. Everyone's got an espresso or something at home with their capsules and what have you, right? But if I just wanted a coffee, I'd get one at home. It would cost me 60, 70p or whatever it is. But the reason I go to a coffee shop is, I want to sit down, I want to meet my friends, we want to have a chinwag, maybe get another coffee, and before you know it, you've spent a couple of hours, you've bought 3 or 4 coffees each, and it's been an experience. We don't want. I mean, the drive-throughs. I mean, seriously. I don't get that method either, but that's another conversation. If you're desperate for a coffee and you have to go for a drive-through, then you have to look at yourself, I think.
definitely.
And that's really what we've been making progress on and I think at the end of the day, our great craft with our great barista connection and these terrific coffee house experiences are what sets the brand apart. And that's what's going to be the foundational piece that turns this business around.
Ryan, why do you think there is that disconnect? Just listening to what you're saying trend-wise, of course, I know you sit on that Walmart board too as well. Just given your vantage point, why do you think there is still that disconnect between what the economy is doing and what you're seeing inside of Starbucks?
Yeah, look, I think consumers obviously are feeling some pressure.
Look at that, Andrew. Look at that graph, right? And this is it. This is what happens when you abandon your real USP and you replace people with machines. And I just love this. I'm lapping this up, Andrew. All right, so that's...
It's interesting. Yeah, I think they still need to forget the economy is bad, etc., etc. Because no matter how bad the economy is, people will still spend money to go and have that feel-good moment. And when you've got a choice of going to a pub and spending, I don't know, a tenner or whatever it is on a beer now, you know what? You could go and have a coffee for about £4, sit down.
And they're still losing.
Exactly.
They're still losing. And this is my point. Yeah. This is why I say BS to economic pressure. Get the hell out of here. You've been squeezing this lemon, and now there's no juice.
Yeah.
You haven't been investing in your brand for a long time. No one's proud of the Starbucks brand anymore. People used to wear t-shirts for it, all of that jazz. No one gives a damn anymore. No. And that's what happens when you replace experience for machines and bottom line. And that's it. Which goes to my next point. McDonald's. So hot off the press, literally half an hour ago,
right.
The results came out for this quarter. Yeah. Let's have a look. Okay, almighty McDonald's. So McDonald's earning miss estimates. US sales slump as company says consumers are grappling with uncertainty. So we're back on that again. Okay, fair enough. McDonald's reported first quarter earnings that missed Wall Street's expectations. So it came below the 6.12 billion expected at 5.96 billion. I mean, it's again nothing to be laughed at, right? But regardless, they didn't hit the mark. So let's have a look. Sales at restaurants in operation for more than 1 year fell 1%, led by a 3.6% drop in US same store sales. So the same problem as Starbucks. So again, we've already reiterated, you go into a McDonald's restaurant, there's no character whatsoever. Over-reliance on the apps. Now you just got the screens, you press the screen, you go in, boom, 4 minutes, you get your thing, and you're trying to get out there as quickly as possible. Now, I've got no problem with that. Unlike Starbucks, hardly anyone goes to McDonald's for the experience. I mean, unless you're 9, but they've also stripped it of that. Like, what memories are kids forming at a McDonald's other than staring at a bogey green wall with a couple of posters of like some random people eating a thing. There's nothing, but you know they're still pretty successful, and I think it's based on nostalgia value that the parents buy their kids McDonald's and they still have held on to the toy.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I'm gonna show you what the McDonald's menu looks like in the UK today.
Okay.
Okay, so because there's a point I want to make here, and it goes back to people. But McDonald's obviously haven't learnt their lesson yet. So we look at the Big Mac Minecraft movie meal, £8.50. A burger alone, £6.49.
Yeah.
And we know how big these burgers are, right?
Oh, I was just about to say it. I mean, a Big
They're
Mac
tiny.
should not be called that anymore.
Just call it a Mac. That's it. You know, in fact, that's probably patented or whatever, trademarked by Apple. But the point I'm trying to make is this. Look at these prices. Are these prices to the point now where you could say, actually, they are significantly cheaper than my local burger joint? I mean, you had a pound or two to these, and now you could just go to your local boss man down the road, get a cheaper burger.
Yeah.
It's gonna be warm,
Yeah.
and the drink is gonna be fizzy.
Yeah.
And this, and I'm gonna make a point about the drink because this is something that's been really taking the ketchup out of my burger. They're relying on short staff and like they've definitely streamlined on their staff.
Yeah.
To such a point now, I can't get a fizzy Coke
Right.
at any McDonald's now. Like literally, so when I order it on the Just Eat app or Deliveroo,
Yeah.
90% of the time,
Yeah.
that Coke is going to be flat.
It's gonna
Whatever drink I order, it's going to be flat. And you
Yeah.
say, okay, well, forgive them, Mense. Forgive them. It's the cost of having to deliver, right? So now I'm just like, I'm not even going to order the drink. And the chips are stale because they've just been sitting there for ages, Andrew. And you can say, okay, blame it on, you know, the delivery driver. It's a cold country. By the time it gets to the store, to your house, it's going to be cold. I mean, the chips are going to be cold, and maybe some of the fizz from your Coke is going to go. Well, Andrew, explain to me why every single time I go to McDonald's, and it's only with my daughter, and I order a Coke, it's still flat. I'll tell you why. They're so understaffed that they just make a line of drinks,
Yep.
and they just randomly grab one and give one to you. Now, I mean, this is just the burger menu, but if I go to the price of a drink, let's have a look at the price of the drink. How much is the drink? So the fries, £1.19. I mean, we're talking something like this small.
Yep.
Trying to get to the drink now. These are the shakes.
Coffee.
All of these are pile of crap.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A pile of crap. I mean, the flat white is just going to be a mess. This hot chocolate deluxe with that cream, good luck getting it with that cream.
Yeah.
It's not going to look nothing like that, okay? But I want to really get to the drink. Look,
Oh,
Diet
you
Coke. Diet Coke. This is the small one, Andrew.
Yeah.
99p. For a flat Coke.
I know.
At this point, Andrew, why am I going to McDonald's? The only decent thing they've got left is the burger.
Yeah.
Only decent thing left they've got is the burger, and it's for a whopping £8.50. The chips are going to be a letdown. The drink's going to be flat. Why? Because they want to save money. Good luck to them. No wonder their in-store sales are going down.
Yeah.
And Andrew, sorry, go on. I'll let you. Sorry.
So one of the reasons that I go to McDonald's, and I haven't been for ages, but I go because occasionally, to be honest with you, I fancy a milkshake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fancy a milkshake. So I'll go there and I'll buy the smallest meal, which is just a burger thingy, and then I'll pay extra for a milkshake. The other day I went into McDonald's, did my usual, got the milkshake, picked the milkshake up, and I thought, hang on, this is really light. Opened it up, no, it was full, right? But it weighed nothing. Do you know what they've been doing? They've been aerating the milkshakes, so you're paying for air.
There's hardly any ice cream in it anymore.
Yeah,
Andrew, it's not exciting to go to McDonald's
No.
anymore. I don't see my child's not that excited about McDonald's anymore. I don't think children have that glare anymore. They still go for it for habit. But before, if you watch the founder, if you read any business article about what made McDonald's special, it was consistency.
Yes.
It was this idea that you could go to McDonald's in Japan,
Yep.
you could go to North Korea, and the drinks are going to be fizzy, the chips are going to taste the same, and the burger's going to taste the same. That's no longer the case on 60% of the free items that they give you,
Yeah.
which is the drink and the chips.
Yeah.
I can't bet my house anymore that if I go to a random McDonald's in the world, that those chips are going to be crispy and warm,
Yeah.
and that the drink is going to be fizzy.
Well,
And
to play devil's advocate a little bit, they've been under a little bit of pressure because, you know, you mentioned about taking your daughter, etc. And I've got two girls, and my wife used to work weekends, so part of what we used to do is go to McDonald's as a treat, or it'd be a party. Remember their birthday parties at McDonald's? But they got under a lot of pressure with the health, you know,
Yeah.
using children, sort of almost getting children addicted to McDonald's, and they tried to combat that with some carrot sticks, etc. But it's not what kids want. But they've now gone to a position where the point of McDonald's was to be able to have a meal that fills you up at a really reasonable price. You say you've got tasty crispy chips, you've got a drink, and you've got a burger that, you know, tastes nice, etc. It's just gone beyond that. You look at it, and I'm no longer disappointed. I had a big
no, you just expect it to be crap.
Yeah.
You just expect it to be crap at this point. But for £8.50,
yeah,
nah. Let me tell you this. And if you're doing it via Deliveroo, or you're doing it with a McDonald's, at a £1.50 plus another pound, and you're looking at an £11 meal.
yep.
You're looking at an £11 for what? I'd rather just go to the local Turkish boss man and get myself I don't know, a shish kebab or something. Yeah,
Exactly.
It just doesn't make any sense anymore.
Me and Paula went for a pub lunch and the other day, and we had a homemade pie, yeah, with the mash and all that, and a drink, right? And then see, it came to £16 each. You know, and it was a lovely home, and it's a couple of quid more. And we sat outside and we enjoyed it. And McDonald's need to wake up. In fact, they all do. You know, the Burger Kings and all that lot. They're all the same. They're all the same.
I mean, do you know what? I'll give it to the Burger Kings. The burgers are still pretty well sized. Honestly, by this point, I just think it's going to carry on going downhill unless they start investing in people. The right amount of staff ensure that the chips are warm, because it means you can have someone there. The right amount of staff ensure that they can actually pour the drink on the go rather than having to, you know.
What you've got now, you've got less staff, right? You've got fewer staff, yeah, and you've got one poor person on the drive-through, under Kosh. You've got one poor person getting everything ready for the Deliveroos and the Uber Eats people, and then you've got one person that is at the counter because somebody doesn't want to use the machines. I don't like the machines. What was wrong with having the people there, and you go up, you go, boom, there's my order, and you sit down?
Yeah.
And then, you know, and then call it. No, it just seems that, oh, you know what?
Speed. And guess what? We're getting a load of crap.
It's slowing down. It's slowing down. Because the other day, I put my order in, standard order. I'm not one of those people that say, oh, I have this with that and whatever. You standard order. Me and Paula, standard order. And bloody hell, I was waiting for the number to come up and waiting, and all these bicycle drivers. It hasn't become speed. All it's done is cut their overheads, cut staff. That's all it's done.
That's it. So yeah, I call BS.
Yeah.
I think it's a win for the people.
BS.
Shares carry on going down until they get some people in, because we're fluffing it. We're fluffing it, mate. That's the way I see it. So yeah, I'm not loving it.
No.
And I'll start loving it. I mean, we need to keep our finger on the.
I just got what you did there. I'm loving it.
Yeah. What's it?
Sorry.
We'll keep our finger on the pulse to see how, you know, whether Starbucks transforms. But I expect so, because guess what? There's some businesses that require people, and the food business is one of them. So you built your success based on the backs of people. Give them fair wages, get them back in, and stop trying to replace people with machines. You're just basically commoditizing a great product.
Or at least say, dear customer, we have now put machines in to make it more streamlined, and because of that, we've also reduced our prices. You know, you'd think, okay, well, I'll put up with it.
Andrew, God forbid.
Yeah.
God forbid.
Yeah.
God forbid.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's that. People, as always, like, share, leave your comment. If you think we're talking out of our arse, please write it down. And see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.